Oh, that's a good sandwich. Can I eat a sandwich while we're recording?
I don't see why not.
I don't
You're
either.
the-
It's not making the podcast less professional.
You're the rules guy, man. So if you're happy to break one of your own rules,
Am I? The rules guy?
I don't think
you're the audit guy, right?
They were, we were talking about rules that last week. Last week? No, this week.
some week.
When I was down in Dallas. So then they claimed that I want a free-for-all. I want no rules. So I'm your rules guy. Down there, I want no rules.
Fucking anarchy guy.
Right.
Fuck yeah.
No.
Man of many talents.
Behavioral safety and then none at all. That's fine.
Fucking anarchy burger. Hold the SOP.
Hold the government.
Hold the government.
Hold the SOP. Hold the management system.
How good was that last day? We didn't get to talk about it on 15 and a half.
Good.
Yeah,
That was a good
It
day.
was good. Yeah.
Solid.
I was a fan.
Yeah, we must have spent 6 hours down the front.
Yeah, it was like co-defendants, vandals.
Pennywise, no effects.
Yeah.
Oh, Pennywise was. Every time I looked back, because I don't know, man. You guys are better at standing still, and I kept getting kind of sent around the edge of the pit. I guess. Every time I look back, Dave, you were like ear to ear, dude. You were so stoked about Pennywise.
It was a good show.
It was a good show.
It's more than 20 years since. No, it hasn't been. I saw them probably about 8 or 10 years ago. But yeah, it's been a while. They were good. They were good.
Fletcher he was on it.
He was on it. He was on something.
Yeah.
And for those who watch the YouTube video of 15 and a half, it ends with Fletcher doing his thing, breaking a few
Doing
guitars. So
Fletcher
it's
stuff.
worth watching.
Fletcherizing everybody's guitar. Yeah.
I quite like seeing that.
That'll be a good episode sometime. Like, what do you do when people just don't want to play ball, right? Like when somebody is just Fletcher all the time.
Yeah, the MXPX posts on social were just hashtag Fletchered. Like, I'm with broken guitars.
Got Fletchered. So what are we talking about,
good.
boys? I don't think we ever talked about, did we hit your new tattoo, Dave?
Yeah, we did it on 15 and a half. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, well, there goes that topic.
Well,
yeah.
So are we done? Are
Whatever.
Oh, God. Oh, Jesus.
Absolutely. What are we talking about?
Well, I think Ron suggested fatigue management.
It's early, by the way.
Yeah.
If you're listening and or watch, especially if you're watching, you'll know. But if you're listening, everybody's moving a little slow. It's like 6 a.m. Ron time.
Yeah, pretty much every episode we've recorded up until now has been between 6 and 8 a.m. my time. So it's my time to shine.
I mean, that's really when you shine, though.
Yeah.
You
don't need
make a lot more sense.
Is that what you call it? Yeah.
You don't believe in sleep for some reason.
It's got shit to do.
Got shit to do. Yeah. So what are we talking about? Dumb decisions.
Great content right here.
Dumb decisions. Decisions that look dumb in hindsight.
Yeah. Look, this is the real process, and I think we've just let everybody in. Episode 16 is about getting really vulnerable with how we operate this podcast.
Is this 16 or is this 17?
This is exactly what
No,
we're doing.
this is 16.
Rather than just being fucking lazy.
Isn't that right? Because we did 15 and a half.
Yeah, the problem we're going to have now, though, is that all of the podcast feeds automatically number the number of episodes, and then we're going to be out. And so if any of our listeners have OCD, it's going to fucking piss them off.
Oh.
Anyway.
Sorry about that.
Details.
Somebody said regulators yesterday.
I said regulators.
Oh yeah. Well, you're somebody. Do you want to talk about regulators?
Well, I think Ron wasn't that excited. Maybe.
No.
All right,
Oh.
I didn't respond to that at all.
Let's talk regulation. The people outside your organization that work to control what goes on inside your organization.
Is that a joint cognitive activity, would you say?
Oh, for fuck's sake, Ben. Do you want to
He was
give
going
Ron
to do
that?
it by himself. He was going to do it by himself.
I brought it up once.
It's like a 4-on-1.
Bullshit.
Even Ron's going to make that.
One,
Even the Golden State Warriors would make that layup.
This fucking guy here.
I'm here to help, Ron.
All right, Ron. But you can start. You're the only one of us who are in a job that's regulated.
Yeah, well, regulated. I don't know. I mean, it's
So-
to me, it's just it is what it is situation. And it's just another stakeholder that you manage or another goal that you manage. I guess maybe this is a fruitful part of the conversation, because the thing that really increases me, particularly when you get into the whole like safety 2 and all those and kinds of debates, people will say things like, oh well, yeah, you can do safety 2 and all that, but like you still got to do compliance. And that is completely different than my experience. Like I do when I
Ron tells
do
the regulators,
compliance-
he just locks the door. So
yeah, I
everyone's
tell them to go
busy.
fuck themselves. And I basically take their regulation and I do a Fletcher to it right in front of them and just fucking smash it.
Fletchered.
No, like when I do safety 2 or when I do compliance, I'm doing it with a mindset of how do we create the conditions for this to happen, like in addition to the other goals that we're trying to achieve, because it's just another goal.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Like, is compliance just this like fucking thing that we have to, we talk a lot about like not being authoritarian and like,
Yeah.
letting people be people. Compliance a lot of times people will frame that as that's the exception to that rule. You got to be an authoritative person when it comes to compliance. Do you?
I think there's 2 examples that I think of. One is sort of self-imposed. It's not regulatory, but it's pretty damn close. And in this country, that's the Joint Commission on Healthcare. And when the Joint Commission comes in and they spend a lot of time within your facility, within a hospital, every finding they expect some action on. And when I say action, it's like more shit. Now, I don't know if that's what they actually intend, but it's the way that it's interpreted in nearly every hospital that I've ever been in. And it's the auditing team or whatever they call themselves has said, well, we saw this thing. Now you have to make something new. And Ron, you and I were talking about this, right? These folks had an IV bag out. It was outside the protective bag. God knows when that happened the last time, right? Not for a long time. But the auditor sees it and they go, you have to have a process in place to avoid that. Well, we do have a process. It failed. We need to learn from that. But now they have new stuff. And then the other one, in another industry we work in a lot, is aviation. And it is not a terribly creative industry in terms of regulatory compliance. It is, there are massive compliance spreadsheets and online forums. And it depends on who's reading it, has been my experience, right? So some of it is, I think when we talked about metrics, Ron, you said, look, if somebody asks for TRIR, just fucking give it to them. Give it to them and move on. And I think with regulators, some of it is that, right? It's another, what'd you call it? It's another stakeholder. And sometimes like I can argue with the FAA or ICAO or IATA or whomever. And it can go on Or I can just say, okay, fine, you can have it. I don't think that really does what you think it does for us. Here's what we do on top of that.
Mhm.
I don't know. What are you saying, Dave?
Yeah, I think I really like the way Ron had sort of said wanted to like they're another stakeholder, it's another goal, right? So this idea of demonstrated safety. So there are people who take an interest in what we're doing inside our company, and we need to demonstrate to them, be they regulators, shareholders, customers, and that. So, there is a need for people to have confidence in what we're doing. So that's the demonstrated bit. Doesn't help us manage our risk internally, but it's important that we're able to, hold that conversation with those stakeholders. So that's a goal, right? And that's not necessarily a risk reduction safety management goal, but it's a like what you'd say, Ron, in your joint cognitive activity sort of work. it's about transparency, right? It's about being able to see the system. So that's one thing. And then the second bit, I think that you said, Ben, the healthcare example is, it's all it comes down to interpretation inside the company and what you choose to do with that yourself, like how you choose to comply. So if there's a finding, they're not telling you exactly what to do. Like, well, maybe they shouldn't be saying write an extra line in this procedure or write a new procedure.
Right.
They're pointing out something that, from their point of view, what they see is a gap. But I think companies interpret the need to close those gaps by, the types of things that we see, the documentation and that sort of stuff. But I think you could be incredibly creative inside your company with, how you choose to comply. And a lot of the things that we talk about in contemporary safety science about more worker engagement and remove power imbalances and understand work as done and enable people to be successful. I don't think you'd walk into a regulator and say, this is what we're trying to achieve. And they'd say, oh, don't do that stuff. Write more documents, right? Like there's a big fucking lost in translation thing between what companies assume regulators want and, what all of my sort of pragmatic discussions with regulators have involved. Now, there's going to be, people who are different to that, but on the whole, that's kind of what I see.
No, 100%.
1000%.
And it's not being fucking lazy. I'll just throw that out there for you, Dave. Because it's easier to just say we added a line to the policy. See, we do it. I mean, that's simple. If you do something that is a little more creative, you have to take the time to demonstrate not just pure compliance by way of something written, but performance of the actual.
Yeah, so I don't know your example in healthcare, but if something's not meant to be outside of a bag or something or exposed to whatever it is, then coat it with something, and as soon as you open it up, it turns fluorescent yellow and explodes or something like that. So I don't know.
That sounds perfect.
After 15, this bag will self-destruct in 15 minutes if not you. Design.
That sounds like a great idea.
Design the.
You should do more work in healthcare.
Yeah, design the fucking thing out, right? Like, just don't be fucking lazy. Just like.
Yeah.
It's a real shame Dave's not in a hospital right now blowing shit up.
To me, the most practical thing I just want to highlight that we're talking about here is step one in this process is make sure you know what actually is required.
Oh yeah,
because there's a whole slew of just bullshit out there about the regulator said this, this is what the regs say, and you actually go and look, and it's like, no, that's not what it says. Actually, we just have to do this one little thing. That's it.
Mhm.
Like you see, and big business is mad for this, because if you call Mary and Fred, local mum and dad electricians, to your house and they turn up and you watch the way they work, you're like, I haven't seen too many things that these big companies do for safety, but they're not in fucking jail, right? Like they're not, they're still in business. And then when we talk to companies about the decluttering stuff and they go, oh, no, I have to investigate every incident. It's the law. Yep, I have to do a pre-start checklist and it has to be written down. It's the law. No, none of those things are in any.
Right.
Precisely zero.
You made that up in your own head.
Even things like a JSA that are universally accepted as I have to do it. No, you don't have to do it the way that it's looking right now. Is that the simplest way is just to steal a form from your last employer and go, yeah, this is what we do?
And the closest thing we have in Australia is in one of the states, there's high-risk work activities. There's like 11 high-risk work activities. Like you'd imagine, work at heights, confined space, and you have to have it documented. I don't even say it's documented. You have to have a process, a method for doing that, a safe work method for doing that. Okay. And then you have an obligation to identify and manage the hazards associated with work. Right, bang. That's it. How companies choose to achieve that is entirely up to them.
Yeah, 1000%. I think that's So I think number one, know exactly what's required. But then I think once you know what's required, then you, like, for me, this is what I try to do in my work is, okay, what is the appropriate level to manage that? Right. Because I sort of think of it as, okay, this is another goal, this is another risk in the organization that we have to manage, risk of some sort of liability or regulatory citation or whatever. You know, if it's a legitimate, like, yeah, this is a safety risk, then I manage it as such. But if it's just like, no, this is just a compliance activity, then I just think to myself, okay, what's the risk and where's the right place to manage that? Like, because I think a lot of times we just kick it down the road and we let the fucking workers manage it. And we force them. We get pissed off when they're like, I don't want to do this. Well, of course they don't want to do it because it's bullshit work. Like.
But sometimes that's viewed right, and that's the alignment to Dave's point internally, right? I mean, a lot of the time it's just internal misinterpretation. But I mean, just yesterday I was having this conversation, and what the company attorney with their in-house counsel swore up and down was a safety issue. Everyone else knew it was not. It was just a cover your ass sort of thing. And I think that internal struggle is almost tougher than trying to explain things to a regulator.
Yeah.
The regulator just has, like, some poor inspector, or whatever you want to call them at the regulator, has to go back to the office. And if something happens, be able to demonstrate to their boss, well, I wasn't fucking off for the last 2 years, right? Like, I was actually looking at this and it made sense.
Yeah.
So as long as you can give them something defensible, that's fine. But the toughest struggle internally that I see is that legal liability management versus actual management of risk.
And I think, Ben, to that point, the legal liability piece, I don't know, I mean, different countries, different industries, but for me, it's sort of blowing so far out of fucking proportion. Like, your chance of having an OSHA person come to your work site, I don't know, Ron, is it like once a year for you?
No, actually, the average workplace will get an inspection every 100 years.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Statistically.
I mean, but even if you're doing a big scale construction project, and so yes, you'll get.
I've not had OSHA come up to any of my construction.
Well, you're
sites
going
in the last
to
10
now.
years.
Yeah, you're going to now.
Nailed it.
So, like, okay. So
I'm gonna start saying that I work for some of our.
You're gonna be there this afternoon,
So
Ron.
you're talking
Nice.
about legal liability risk. If it's once a year, it's like a 0.3% chance of a person even turning up on your site, and then the chance of finding a few things. Yeah, fair enough. And so, because I'm picking up on what you said there, Ben, about what the discussion inside companies between directors and executives and general counsel about liability management, and I'm going, your best strategy would be to just go, you know what? If someone walks onto our site, we'll deal with it then. We're just going to manage safety, like as best as we think.
Well,
and no one's fucking going to jail if you take your best endeavors. No one's going to jail. Just
that's the big part, right? Is I think people blow the wrong thing out of proportion, right? Because if I end up in court and I know this country, the US, better, not because I've spent a lot of time in court, but having done litigation support.
Let's be honest, of the three
don't
of
worry,
us.
Ben. If you end up in court, Ron and I will be your co-defendants.
Hey,
there it is.
He said the thing.
Nailed it. I think we focus on the wrong thing, right? Because if you end up on the stand, right, which is an infinitesimal chance that that's going to happen. But let's say
not for you so much, but for the rest of us.
For a normal workplace, probably not going to happen. And if you do, if you just say, well, look, we were really focused on just complying with the minimum because that's what the rule is and that's what we needed to do versus trying to talk about actual performance, to talk about, well, listen, we recognize that there's some safety risk here. This is what we're doing to manage that. Along the way, we're complying, but that our goal isn't compliance. Our goal is actually the reduction of risk, increasing safety at a job site. I think, and Greg Smith's book, I think, does it well. Books now do a pretty good job of unpacking that in Australia. I mean, there are countries in the world. Italy's been through some stuff in the transportation industry where it's really criminalized to have a mistake. But by and large, that's not it, right? By and large, you're actually in a better position to say, look, our focus was not compliance. Our focus was actually making something better.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people miss. They're freaking out about the wrong thing.
And this is where and it still goes on now today, where we started, Ron, when we talk about, contemporary safety and that being not compliant. And Sid and I, not the Sid that you don't know, Ben.
Oh, sure.
Tier
I've heard of him.
one Sid.
Heard of him. Yeah.
Tier one Sid,
yeah.
Tier one Sid.
We're at one point talking to some companies.
Don't tell others, Sid, that he's not tier one. Jeez. He's easy tier two at
Can't all
least.
be tier one.
No, clearly.
And so
tiered.
Oh, yeah. I mean, tiered. Okay.
Heavy is the crown.
Heavy is the crown.
Yeah.
And so, but the idea is kind of like, Sid and I was sort of like, did this counterfactual reasoning with a few organizations. It's like, okay, so you stand up in court and say, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Your Honor, we actually thought trying to understand the work better would be a good thing to do. And we actually thought, much to our obvious mistake, that actually, building better relationships and partnering with our workforce and trying to work out ways to design the work more effectively, set them up to be more successful, not have to rely on procedures and compliance because we've got, better inbuilt risk controls with the work. Apologize. We thought that might lead to better, safety and performance outcomes. Oh, and actually, by the way, the science, the science, all the peer-reviewed literature kind of suggests that might be a useful. And actually, if we look, 4 decades ago at some of the changes in legislation around consultation and involving workers in decisions about safety that impact them, because they, are an important, source of knowledge about this. Oh, actually, our bad. And all of the major parliamentary inquiries and government investigations into major incidents have also kind of, concluded that, the organization, didn't understand the hazards and risks that they were managing. Our bad. So sorry.
Sorry we were trying to do that.
Yeah.
And again, it's like the stories, the narratives that people make up for themselves in their own head about what compliance is.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to note, though, that this dynamic we're talking about is a feature, not a bug, of the regulatory and liability system. It's like the system is designed to create risk for employers to have them manage risk for the employees. Now, I'm not saying that's good or bad or that's, whatever, but like that's the underlying philosophy that's guiding most of this legislation. And so this isn't like managers being dumbasses. This is like a natural byproduct of that system. And so our job is to help them manage that anxiety and like, hey, let's level set here.
Oh man,
what are we trying to manage?
We're getting Drew in here too.
Oh, we're also getting we're getting the full cognitive systems engineering lab experience from OSU about features and bugs and.
Yeah, we have lots of bugs in the lab. That's the problem. It's an old building.
Yeah, the hits keep coming.
It is an old building. So I threw you something before, Ben. So what's going on behind you? For those who are watching on YouTube, and after we threw a set list at the end of the pod 15 and a half, surely most people, are on the YouTube platform now.
Oh, 100%. I'm going to say all 9 of our listeners have probably watched the video. That's the co-defendant.
It must be more because I noticed on Spotify when I checked something the other day, we had 9 5-star reviews on we had only 9 reviews, but all of those 9 reviews were 5 stars reviews on Spotify.
100% 5-star reviews. That's how you frame that, bud.
Oh, okay,
Come
sorry.
on.
100%.
That's because
100%
each of us
satisfaction
reviewed us
guaranteed.
3 times.
So we are now we have to be double figures. We have to be double figures. I'm not sure
Wow.
low end, or high end, but
So all 11 listeners.
there you go.
We have
Have seen the
6
video.
5-star reviews on Apple.
Do you reckon they're the same?
Now
No.
7 because I just gave one.
Oh, good. Yep.
Your homework.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that-
the co-defendants behind me.
They
There you
rock
go, Ron.
those
Ron's the
face-offs.
engine room. Yes.
Yeah.
You guys went no effects for me. Thank you.
Sorry,
Yeah. No.
I talked over you, Ben. What's going on behind you?
That's the co-defendants. I'm telling you, man, that was the standout set for me. I thought those guys went super hard. The guitar was fucked up. I don't really know how that works. Ron's our guitar expert. I don't know how the fuck a guitar doesn't work. It feels like it's either it has
I don't
strings
think.
or not, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it was a guitar issue. It was a sound issue, like the sound system. It wasn't coming through the PA, which it's actually they ended up changing out the amp, and so it must have been the amp was fucked somehow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know why they
Well,
needed to
even
change
without a
out the
guitar.
entire amp. You know, they changed the stack and the header, but whatever.
Ron with his big words.
Everything.
Yeah.
Look at Ron just standing there going, can you stop bumping into me? I'm trying to observe the joint cognitive activity going on.
This is what they teach you at Ohio State, my friends. You learn about sound systems. You learn about fucking joint shit.
Joints.
That joint cognitive activity, by the way,
It's a
I'm not an
joke
expert,
party.
but the sound booth was like routinely fucking stuff up at that show. It seemed like
It's pretty full on though. They change in and out, you know, basically the entire stage. And yeah, the sound guys, the roadies and the sound
The
guys.
stage crew was on it. The sound crew was having some. They were on the struggle bus.
Except night two, I think, when old mate forgot to take El Jefe his trombone, and he had to just make the trombone noises, the trumpet noises with his mouth. It's like one fucking job. What a
pro.
What a pro.
Child.
But the co-defendants, and I guess, good story of adaptability, because literally went to play and guitar doesn't work, and they just went, "Oh fuck it, we'll make it work." And just
I've seen so many bands just fucking melt in that moment and just don't do shit. Like I thought they handled that perfectly.
They killed it, yeah.
Chesky, I think, said actually, fuck it. That's like the Bill O'Reilly clip, if you've never seen that, where he's like, fuck it, we'll do it live. And they just fucked it. And it was I don't know. They ruled. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Sam King, he's the singer from Get Dead.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are fucking killer.
That's the guy behind you, right?
That's Sam laying there. They've all got suits on.
And we could have seen Get Dead, but I had to get some beauty sleep.
Our car, God, it was really slow in the mornings. Felt like barely made it to no effects. By the way, at reasonable hours, which was great, like a 7:30 start time for the headliner that's my favorite kind of show now. Is like old people hours.
Yeah, I appreciate the shit out of that, but 100% at the end, I was fucking wiped out, even with the early start. Fuck,
it was a lot.
Yeah,
it was a lot of work, man. And they're doing the end of the decline, I think, behind you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is everybody, almost like everybody from the 3 days is probably represented behind me.
And Tim Armstrong showed up, and the guys from Bad Religion showed up.
Bowling for Soup,
Mighty Boss Tones.
Yeah.
It was that was really epic. It was some bad,
Fletcher showed back up.
Yes, he did. I was gonna have that picture, but I figured one of you guys might have it.
Yeah,
so
well, maybe. I think
maybe that's next time.
I think Pennywise played again on Wednesday night in Denver, Ben.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you're still.
I wasn't here.
Might have still been in Dallas, but yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No.
but they would have been a good after party.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Not much
Apparently
social-
there were after parties at the shows that we were at. And we did not get invited, which is I really struggle with because we're fucking big time podcasters, and I kind
saw-
of thought,
Yeah, I saw the same on social media. I saw there was one 2-star hotel like in San Pedro somewhere, and I think the whole place was booked out. And I've seen some social media stuff from like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Apparently they're just screaming, singing Linoleum at the top of their lungs, and just like there's some people that I don't think slept for 3 days.
yeah,
That's
2-star
awesome.
review checks out though too.
Yeah,
That's
jeez.
that kind of place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. The us big time podcasters. I was at a conference yesterday, and someone said, "Oh, you're doing a podcast, Ron. You're a big time influencer." And I was like, no. Like being a podcaster, especially in LA, doesn't make you an influencer. It makes you a cliche. Like
That's why,
sorry.
yeah, and that's our intro song.
Our intro
right?
music.
I'm a
yeah,
cliche.
exactly.
Why we got it. Dave,
Mhm.
your photo I noticed has got the massive pink haired dude.
Oh yeah,
That guy was
It does. I didn't even notice that.
He was a big unit.
that dude was 7'9"
Yeah.
at least.
And then
Yeah.
on night 3, when I just found myself beside him for most of the thing, like it was just like perfect because like there was enough height and weight that we were like a fixture inside the pit, and then stuff
Yeah.
would just bounce off us. It was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
Was that when you were touching everyone around you, Dave?
allegedly.
Oh,
Allegedly.
yeah. That fucking guy.
Dave just sitting there completely still, hands up and out of the way, gets accused of inappropriate touching.
Yeah.
But he
And now
kinda
no,
looks like that guy though.
he does, but
Come on.
I mean, come on. But like this was while that was happening, while Dave was allegedly touching, this guy with his big fucking spiky mohawk was dancing right in front of me with the spikes going right in my fucking eyes.
And Ron
Ron,
had already had a recordable the day before, so it was really heightened.
yeah,
awareness
turn
of
your
it.
head a little bit. Ron.
Yeah,
There it is.
It's there still.
Number of
And what was it?
It was like some sort of can. Some sort of can was thrown into the audience and found its
Yeah.
home upon my bald head.
We're doing okay now. We're doing okay.
No,
You know, the pod's doing okay. We're days since the last recordable is 6 now, so we're doing okay.
This is good.
We
This
should
is
I'll get a
good.
poster.
We're gonna
I'll
If we
get a
get-
sign.
wait till we get to 10. Wait till we get to 10.
Okay.
If we get to like 30, do we get a barbecue? What's
Pizza
the-
party.
Pizza
Pizza
Yes.
party.
Yes. All right.
That's
I'll
cool.
do my best.
So I've
I'll
got
do my
I went night 1. I went with Koki the Clown.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think night 1 NoFX for me seemed a little bit more like normal, like NoFX. Like it hadn't really maybe sunk in that it was the last weekend, because Mike was far more into the jokes, into the drugs and the sex, and he went pretty normal Mike on night 1, and then he got a bit reserved and a bit emotional on Saturday and Sunday, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I mean,
Night
normal
one, he was
NoFX, and that it.
He was giving people lots of drug taking and sexual advice on night 1, even to the kids. Even to the kids.
Even to the kids. I forgot about
Even to the kids.
that. You want to do it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To his 13-year-old niece or
I think
something.
I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest, it was a safety briefing. Like,
It was.
Yeah.
He told his niece, he goes, "Look, you're going to need this advice because you look kind of like a lesbian." To his 13-year-old niece on the side of the stage.
oh my god.
Oh, fucking hell. Which is
if you've
like
got-
100%.
I mean, you know what?
NoFX.
You know what you're in for, right? Like if Fat Mike's your
Yeah.
uncle, you kind of know. Like if you don't know what you're in for, that's on you. Like,
Even Fletcher, who is batshit fucking crazy, is like, dude, NoFX is they these guys are legit punk rock.
Yeah,
Drinking.
I sent you guys something,
Oh.
and it's even too much to talk about on the podcast. So,
Is it? I mean, I don't know.
oh, I
Yeah,
mean, the thing
yeah.
for me is when you read those things and these guys are in their late 50s, like Keith Richards, I guess, who's it? Like, fucks me. How are these guys alive?
Yeah.
Like, if there's a story of
And
safety
still
and
doing it.
resilient, like the resilient story, which is like if you expose yourself to enough hazards and learn how to navigate that much risk, like you're going to live forever. You go jogging and go to sleep at 7 o'clock every night, you're getting hit by a bus.
You're gonna fucking die.
I think I'm solid then. I got a lot of stupidity early in life, and I'm sort of tapering a little now, but I feel like I front loaded enough that I'll make it for a while.
It's the Punk Rock Health Podcast now. We're getting really good advice. Hey, all you fucking dorks doing exercise and eating right, you're gonna fucking die.
Probably. Yeah. Although Fat Mike rides his bike, he's always shown pictures of him riding his bike around Vegas. I do think it's an e-bike, Dave's kind of bike.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the same if you're just pushing the little accelerator button.
And it's pretty flat. Like there's not many hills around the strip. And
Yeah,
No.
Vegas is not known for its hilliness.
Yeah, especially if you're Cokie the Clown just going from one party to another. I don't think the bike is solving a lot.
so I think that punk. So should we go back? Should we talk about regulators again, or are we just done with that? Are we just?
No, I think we should come back to it. At least
yeah.
for we'll dip back in for a little bit.
Because I think the theme of the NoFX last show was about, we did it our way. And for those who listen to the 15 and a half pod, we put the clip of their not released, not recorded song, their little I know what you call it, memoir in a song, and their whole theme about doing it their way. And I think punk is pretty cool because the whole punk kind of fuck authority, fuck regulation, we're going to figure this out for ourselves. Isn't a bad attitude for organizations to take. Not necessarily the whole, like telling authority that they're fuckwits. Like, I don't think you have to go that far. But I think the idea about figuring out your way that makes sense for you and your capabilities and what you're trying to achieve, I think pay more attention to that than the attention that gets paid to, what other people think you should be. There's a little bit of a nice little connection there, boys. What do you reckon about that one?
Look at that. That was an excellent
Dave.
segue. This guy, he did his fucking homework.
Philosophical. I just made that shit up right then.
Is that from a paper?
It can. Well,
Did you publish that? Oh, we should.
We should.
Just a heads up, safety science. If you're an editor, I think Drew is. Just a heads up. Look out for a paper about sort of parallels between punk rock and
safety science. Doesn't listen, man. Don't worry. Although we do have regulators that listen. We know in my part of the world in New South Wales, one of the we know from all of the love that we got on our field trip reports that we submitted onto LinkedIn. There's a few regulators that listen in, so big shout out.
And I think maybe a couple folks from OSHA. So that's why I said Ron is by this afternoon. Ron's getting a visit from a safety and
so Ron, your construction project, that's in Washington State, right?
Yeah. Well, we don't do construction. We actually make hang gliders out of Idaho. Yeah. But like, you say what you say, Dave, but I think it's super interesting to note that one of the reasons the show was so early is we had to be done by 10. And I think that was a legal requirement. And I think also there was some discussion about a maximum crowd size that they had to adhere to, which they may or may not have adhered to. But so even in that punk environment, my point is there's still regulation over it that these guys are navigating. And it's interesting to see how they navigated it as, fucking punk rockers.
Yeah, but I think they're boundaries, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure there was a whole bunch of shit in that in the permit, the approval permit, that they just went, yeah, we'll do that. and then went, oh no, we got something.
We ain't
We've
doing
got
that.
we've got some objectives here, and it's like, so I think
Like the no moshing sign that kept coming up. No mosh pits.
Please.
So
I mean, it was really nice. Please, no moshing.
You
And
could-
everyone's like, cool.
you could
Uh-huh.
imagine the
No
bruiser,
crowd surfing.
the
What's that
bru-
guy behind you?
yeah, the brouhaha, who's like, it's like you can imagine one of their insurance conditions for the show was that there's going to be no moshing, and so I'm just kind of like, okay, so we're going to put it on the big screen, the no moshing, but we're still going to have 15 fucking big Pacific Islander security guards just to catch the people in case someone decides at a punk rock festival that they're going to crowd surf and
Yeah.
mosh, but. And we might have
Yeah.
a whole massive field hospital set up here designed to.
That was a big, I mean, that was like a wartime field hospital, like
Yeah.
actual doctors.
There was
on
a
staff.
waiting room. There was like people scrubbed up, ready to go. It was
Yeah.
yeah.
They were doing amputations, as far as I know.
It's like some Civil War shit going on in there.
there were dudes in walkers crowd surfing.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
There was, yeah, that was cool.
it was pretty cool. Yeah, that dude was big, man. That
Yeah.
guy and they sent him up there, and they sent him up there with his walker, and then that other dude came through in the wheelchair, and then is like, we're taking this dude to the front, and then I saw the wheelchair go up on top of the. He goes, not the dude wasn't in it anymore, so I don't know
Oh,
what happened there. I assume,
Oh shit!
I
He's
assume he
still
got it
there.
back. I assume he got it back.
Hey guys, where's my chair?
I'm always curious when people throw shoes on stage. If they brought extra shoes, or they're just rolling around in one.
They're not
One
extra
shoe,
shoes.
no shoes.
I saw that one guy who found a phone and was going around trying to trade a shoe for a phone because he'd lost a shoe.
Or I saw a guy that found a phone and was trying to return it to its owner by throwing it 20 people
Yeah.
away.
And
And
then-
somebody pulled a Ron and cut a phone.
And
to
that's
the
how
head.
this happens.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
But like,
So-
but, you
So
know,
there is, in the process of figuring it out, I think sometimes some frictional cost to those things of, somebody throwing a phone or, I think if you'd sat down and maybe not been formal about it, but said, hey, should I throw this phone? During the phone throwing, there were people going, hey, don't throw the phone, man. But I think some of that in real time, when you're trying to figure that out, you do have that potential cost. And so maybe it's sort of knowing where the lower consequence bits are to allow a little more flex and discovery and testing of the system, kind of understanding, I think even to the regulator's point where Dave said, look, there are 11 things that we know kill people pretty effectively. Maybe do things there. And
Yeah,
then you
I
can
think-
figure the rest of it out.
I think I think inform yourself, right? Like that the group there, they were obviously informed. They were obviously right. Okay, we have to finish this thing by 10 because the noise restrictions are pretty solid, right? And we're going to cop shit, and we don't want to get shut down for our last day. And we've got to show the insurance company that we're making an effort in a few things, right? And so the 10 p.m. thing was obviously a hard line, like we can't cross this. And the other one was like, well, let's not lose sight of our objectives and let's demonstrate we're doing a little bit. And I think the whole piece is informing yourself, and that's where we went to before, I guess, Ron, which is like, for safety people, like actually take some time to understand what the regulations. Don't just say, I don't care about compliance or the regulators shit or whatever. Like take some time to look at what you're expected to do with fresh eyes, and also look at the intent behind the words in the requirement. So when it says to do something, just go, why do I think the regulator wants us to be doing this? What are they trying to achieve? And actually just sort of, I think open your eyes up a little bit if you actually just had a good solid read. And I still talk to that many safety people about regulation. They go, I've never looked at it. It's just all assumptions,
Yep.
all assumptions about what's in there. You know,
Yeah.
And the cool thing
Right.
is most regulators have they publish letters of intent, right? They'll publish clarifications to the regs alongside the actual regulation, which is also pretty damn cool.
Mhm.
Because someone else like you has been thinking, the fuck do they mean by this? So it's
Mhm.
kind of nice to hear back from them. And very, very often it is far less restrictive than we imagine.
Yeah.
and take your in-house lawyer advice with a grain of salt.
Yeah, that's true.
Just lie.
But I
Just
think
put the no moshing sign up and move on.
but I think the whole like okay, like Dave, you were saying about how they at the show understood okay, this is a hard limit. This one, like saying no crowd surfing, no moshing at a fucking punk show, like a punk festival, like that's just not realistic. It's like sort of like saying we're gonna have zero tolerance for PPE violations at a construction site. Like, okay, like good
We'll have no
luck.
construction, but
Yeah, yeah, have fun with that. Like, and so what they did at the punk show, they realized, yeah, we're going to tell people don't do it, but then we're going to be ready for them when they do it. Like, we're going to have the guys who can help make sure they don't fall. We're going to have the medical. Look at you. There it
yes.
is. Um,
God, he's on fire. I think it's because he's 2 hours ahead of you.
yeah, that's it. That's it.
He's been awake
Uh,
prepping.
This whole time. But you know what I mean? Like they were ready for when it failed. And it reminds me of a conversation I was having with a colleague the other day about an incident we had where some guys did some work and long story short, one of the guys drilled into his finger. It wasn't too bad of
When he was
an
putting,
injury,
was that when he
but
was putting the
obviously-
hang glider together?
Yeah. It was a
100%.
hang glider
In
situation. In Idaho, yeah, deep in the woods.
Go look. on a mountain, deep in the woods.
On a huge fucking mountain surrounded by water.
Look at the Tetons
With
or
a lot of
something.
drills available.
And in the investigation, it comes out that the supervisor had told these guys the right way to do it, and they did a different way. And so I asked the question, like, okay, saying that the supervisor told them the right way, that's doing a lot of work. What does that look like? Because I think we can all think of examples where supervisors telling someone, that's a lot of variability there. Like there's people who go, hey, let me show you and really walk you through it versus just here's do this, like, and it's it's not that helpful. And
Put your finger on the end of the drill bit to hold it very still.
And so the person I was talking to made the good, very valid point. Like, okay, yeah, but how do you control for that? Like with that variability, like, you can't say only bring good supervisors to our job site. Just that's hard to do. And so my point to him was like, yeah, you're 100% right. So if there's that level of variability, then we have to assume we're going to have bad ones.
Can't we just ban the drills?
Yeah, so ban all drills. No, so we have to make it so like, okay,
hands.
When supervisors
only hire people with no hand.
When they have hands, when they have drills, how do we make it? How do we make it so they mosh? No, how do we make it like so that you can have bad days and not kill people? Like, not drill through your finger. Like a little cut, that's probably going to happen. But like serious catastrophic shit, that's probably.
And I think that's the regulation point. That's the regulation point, right? Because companies are obsessed with recordable injuries and that, but regulators actually aren't. Regulators aren't. Like you can put someone in hospital and a regulator's still like, oh, it's not really that bad. We're too busy, right? And so like the idea of like you've got a drill or whatever, and it's just like if you think about it through a regulatory framework, you'd probably go, if he slips and cuts his finger, OSHA's not going to really pay. Like they might want to record a stat somewhere, but they're not really going to come and visit your work site and shut you down. So
in Idaho,
you don't spend a lot of time worrying about your drills, right? Like,
focus your time, and that was sort of my point. Like,
unless you got Ben there and he's like drilling into the apprentice or something to Like,
Can you imagine, like, if at the
a
show
perfect
they were
point.
just like every time someone started moshing or every time someone started crowd surfing, they like fucking shut the show down. No, we're not doing this, or like get the fuck out. What a fucking
You
lame
mean
ass
like
show.
during the Dropkick Murphys show when we
Well, no, that was
that's
just what
fucking
we.
another person.
and that
But,
was a
like-
nice clip that you put on LinkedIn of the outtake from Other Ben. And and then when I logged in, I get this error message saying we are unable to put the subtitles on the thing. So yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no. Look, it said it was having trouble understanding. Mostly because that guy's
Because it
accent's
came
a
out with-
weird.
Fuck, another guy's hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I missed that part. It's been
Right.
corrected.
Yeah.
Although a good thing to show up in your LinkedIn feed, just to give you a bit of motivation.
Yeah,
for the
look,
day.
we already had one that didn't make it. I don't know why. You know, nobody.
So there's two things that I'm thinking on that day 3, because I mean we did submit our report for day 3 to the field trip for those of you who haven't seen it because it didn't show up in your feed, and it just battled off the gun. I don't know.
LinkedIn got tired of our chili.
I think
emojis.
your chili placement on Ron's finger didn't quite beat the AI, and
Yeah.
or it's got something about Fletcher smashing that guitar band, because that looks like a pretty that's a pretty aggressive picture. So one of those two things killed us on the LinkedIn.
How many motherfuckers do you see like have these like safety videos where like fucking people get killed on your feed? Like,
Yeah,
come on.
the
Guy kills a
forklift
guitar and we gotta
stabs.
put that down?
Yeah, I think it's in the aggregate. I think, Ron, that we're in trouble.
That's some bullshit.
It's like over time, the algorithm has learned that punk rock safety is a problem, and too many chili peppers on fingers means something.
That's
I
fair.
don't know.
That's right.
That's
So
fair.
you got a hard stop in a few minutes, don't you, Ron?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
dude.
right. It was-
Did we solve it?
Like, It's like 10 o'clock at
well,
night.
today was pretty cool. Like we got people got to see the whole planning process at the start.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
I don't know if that's cool, but they did get to see it. You know, it's almost maybe it's disconcerting, although I don't think so. I think it's sort of like, you know, if Fat Mike is your uncle, you know what you're getting into. If
Yeah.
you're listening to this podcast, like you sort of know you've signed up.
Yeah. And
for
don't
it.
be
Unless you're listening for the first time to this one, and now you sort of
In which case, welcome.
welcome.
Yeah. Thanks.
And don't and,
You're the
and
11th person.
And don't
It was
be-
good
don't-
to see you for a minute.
yeah. Don't be fucking lazy. Read your regulations.
Yeah.
All right.
Read the regulations. Yeah, think about creatively what that looks like
Yeah.
at different levels and for different stakeholders. I mean, to Ron's point, the regulation doesn't apply universally to everyone in the same way, and not every regulation is an 11 on the scale 1 to 10 of importance, right?
Exactly.
And again, to that point of like, here's the hard stop versus we throw a sign up and go, okay, cool, we're moving on.
And going to jail might not be a bad thing, because sooner or later Fletcher will be in the cell with you, so you'll get to hang out.
Hell yeah.
All right, boys.
Want to make friends with.
All right, let's go trash a hotel room, boys.
All right.